My name is Jiang Haibo, a Phoenix man who reached the top relying on his wife and father-in-law. I am just a normal guy. I come from a rural mountain village. A mountain village exam taker, not even a small-town exam taker. I'm the only college student in our village to get into a top-tier university. I have two older sisters. My oldest sister dropped out of school early and married an honest, hard-working man. The bride price she got paid my tuition for several years. My second sister wasn't great at studying. After graduating middle school, she went with the village adults to work out of state. My daily living expenses, she pays for most of them. My family is a typical rural family that favors sons over daughters. I'm the root of the family. Any good food at home, I always get to eat it first. In my parents' eyes, I'm the hope of our family, and the one with the most promise. My parents are proud of me. My looks are average, but I win on being tall. At nearly 6'1" and lean, I stand out even among university students in the Jiangsu Zhejiang Shanghai area. I am pretty well liked at school. KFC gives employees lots of coupons every month. I give them all to my classmates. I'm also the hardest worker in my class. When the homeroom teacher asks me to clean the classroom, I clean it the best. When the water cooler in the teacher's office is empty, as long as I see it, I take the initiative to change it. If there are any errands to run, I'm always happy to help. So, even though I come from mountains, don't understand a lot of things, and dress plainly, or even look poor, not a single teacher or classmate looks down on me. They're all very nice to me, and very willing to teach me things I've never been exposed to. It was raining heavily that day. The rain looked like a gray wall, shattering the light from the street lamps. I hoisted my backpack higher on my shoulder, and quickened my pace toward KFC. It was my turn for the evening shift today, $7 an hour. If I'm late, they deduct pay. I work over 40 hours a week, so I can earn my food money for the week. As a grown man, spending my sister's hard-earned money makes me lose face. It was really pouring. Through the rain, I saw a young girl sitting by the side of the road. Her knee was bleeding. Her hair was stuck to her face. Her face was pale. Her clothes were plastered to her body and covered in mud. She obviously couldn't stand up from the pain. It was 8 p.m. Because of the heavy rain, there was hardly anyone else on the road. I felt a twinge of sympathy. The girl was pretty, and even though she was a mess right now, she had fair skin, big eyes, and a high nose bridge. I couldn't tell the brand of her clothes, but they were clearly well coordinated. She was gripping a phone and making a call. She clearly came from a good family. If I didn't go over, she'd probably get rescued soon anyway. But if I did go, maybe I could make a good connection. I walked over. The girl was shaking all over, trying to push herself up, only to fall back down. Even her lips were turning purple. "Are you okay, classmate? Do you need my help?" The girl looked up. Rainwater was streaming down her face. I immediately stepped forward and squatted down, pulling her under my umbrella. Her body trembling, she said, "I can't stand up right now. Do you need me to call an ambulance for you?" "No, I already called my dad. He's coming right now to take me to the hospital." "Then let me help you over to the bus stop over there to get out of the rain. Sorry to bother you." With that, I grabbed her arm to pull her up. She gasped, "Wait, it hurts so much. I can't stand up." I didn't dare use force, afraid of injuring her further. After thinking for a moment, I handed her the umbrella, saying, "Excuse me," then bent down and scooped her up in my arms. She was very light, about the weight of 2 bags of rice at home. I carried her to the bus stop nearby, because other than the bus stop, there was nowhere else to shelter from the rain. The closest place was about 1 kilometer away, at our school's security guardhouse. Obviously, no matter how good my stamina was, it wouldn't allow me to carry an injured grown girl for a whole kilometer. I set her down on the bench at the stop, took off my jacket, and wrapped it around her shivering body. I don't want to grow up. Her ringtone went off. She answered the call. It was probably her dad calling. She struggled to describe where she was. "Dad, I'm over by so-and-so university, at a bus stop on the side of a big road. There's a row of camphor trees here, and a lot of osmanthus trees." Listening to her description, I couldn't help but complain internally. Based on her description, a normal person would never be able to find her. I tapped her and motioned for her to give me the phone. "Hello, sir. I'm a student at so-and-so university. I ran into your injured daughter on the road. We're right now on so-and-so road by the main gate of the university. Go west from the main gate, past 2 traffic lights, and we're at the bus stop on the left-hand side. On the other end of the line was a very anxious voice, mixed with a regional accent, thanking me profusely. Soon, a black sedan with 4 rings pulled up to the bus stop. I didn't know anything about cars at all, but I could tell the lines of the car were very sleek. The seats were leather, and when the doors opened, the car smelled really good. 2 men got out of the car. One of them was an older man, not very tall, with a kind smile and a big beer belly. He was the girl's dad, and kept apologizing to me. Next to him was a younger guy who called him VP, looking like a subordinate. I helped get the girl into the car. Before leaving, the girl saved my name and my dorm room landline number in her phone. I very strategically didn't ask for my jacket back. An Adidas jacket my second sister bought me. Of course, I was late for my part-time job, since I had a good reason. The manager didn't give me a hard time. I wasn't someone who'd be late without cause. Plus, I was usually very responsible at work. Out of all the college kids there, I was the only one who'd volunteer to clean the toilet, so the other employees wouldn't complain. 3 days later, my roommate got a call from the injured girl. I was at work then, so it was the next afternoon by the time I called back. Her ringback tone was a Jay Shu song. It sounded great. It connected after just a few rings. Hello? Her soft voice came through the receiver. Hello. Hi, I'm Jiang Haibo. Jiang who? I'm Fu GQ, the girl you saved that rainy day. Is your leg all right? It's nothing major. Just a sprained ankle, a few days of rest, and I'll be fine. I called mostly to thank you, and I need to find time to return your jacket. It's fine. You can give the jacket back when you're all better. No rush. Helping you was no big deal. Don't worry about it. Actually, missing that jacket was a huge deal. I only had 2 jackets to rotate through, and the weather had still been pretty cold these past few days. I just had to tough it out. The girl said her name was Fu Jikyu, a freshman at the neighboring finance university, studying financial management. The neighboring school was a 3rd-tier university. We agreed to meet at the bus stop where she fell, so she could return the jacket when the time came. Fu Jikyu handed me a brand new Adidas jacket. I didn't want to take it. The jacket was neatly folded. The tag was still on. The tag glaringly showed 3 digits. Enough for my food money for 2 months. I want my original one. As soon as the words left my mouth, I knew my tone was a bit harsh. A flash of panic crossed her face. I realized I might have let my emotions show, but I did feel uncomfortable. No. Your original one was completely covered in mud. I originally wanted to wash it clean and return it to you, but when the nanny at home washed it, she found the sleeves and collar were frayed. Without thinking much, she threw it away. I can only compensate you with a new one. I can't exactly go find an old piece of clothing for you, right? I watched her explain to me, her whole face red with anxiety. She looked straight at me, seeming really afraid I'd misunderstand something. I stood there, my hand unconsciously squeezing my backpack strap. Seeing her looking so anxious and distressed, that awkwardness in my heart slowly dissipated. I helped you without expecting anything in return, but you giving me such an expensive piece of clothing makes me feel like a petty person seeking repayment for a favor. I adjusted my tone and said, and even lost your clothes. If I don't compensate you with one, it'll make me feel like an ungrateful wretch. I looked at Fu Jikyu's flushed face and laughed. She was really cute. I reached out and took the clothes from her hands. She visibly sighed in relief. I'm really grateful to you. If it weren't for you that day, I probably would have been in the rain for a long time. It was just a small effort. I took the clothes and left without saying much more. I still had to go work at KFC. She stood there, seeming to want to say something else, opened her mouth, and finally just softly said, goodbye. I nodded, stuffed that brand new Adidas into my backpack. Life continued on. I put that Adidas in the closet, folded it neatly, never took it out to wear. It was just that every day when I opened and closed the closet, I would think of that beautiful girl shivering in the rain. I originally thought in this lifetime it would be impossible to cross paths with her again, but a sudden turn of events happened very quickly. That afternoon, the counselor called me to the office. On the desk lay a form. My application for the financial aid grant had been rejected. Jiang Haibo. Someone reported that you purchased brand name clothing. The counselor pushed up his glasses. His tone was calm, but his eyes carried a business-like scrutiny. Adidas. Is it? According to school regulations, determining financial need requires being truthful and factual. I stood in front of the desk, my mind buzzing for a moment. Adidas. That Adidas that was locked in my closet. That I'd never worn. I didn't know who had reported me. I had never worn that jacket. But it was like a thorn, piercing the bit of dignity I had worked so hard to build. Teacher, I didn't buy that jacket myself. Someone compensated me with it. Compensated? Why would they compensate you? You need to write a clear explanation of the situation. It's best if you have a witness or physical evidence. Otherwise, following procedure, your application will be terminated. Back at the dorm, I sat on the edge of the bed and thought for a long time. The closet was open. That gray Adidas lay quietly in the very back, folded, perfectly square. I walked over to the dorm landline, my thumb hovering over the dial pad, hesitating to press down. Her phone number. Since the last time she returned to the clothes, I'd already memorized. I couldn't really say what I was hesitating about. Was I afraid she wouldn't remember me? Or afraid she'd remember, but wouldn't want to wade into muddy waters? Or perhaps afraid she'd agree, and then I'd owe her a big favor? Thinking of that face in my memory, I wanted to hear her voice again. I sat there, my fingers gripping the receiver until it grew hot. Finally, I pressed the buttons. The phone rang 3 times and she answered. The voice on the other end was soft, with a hint of uncertainty. Hello? Hello. I'm Jiang Haibo. I paused. That day in the rain when you fell. And I carried you on my back to the hospital. Do you remember? She replied quickly, her voice noticeably brightening. Of course I remember. What's up? Is something wrong? I have something I want to ask for your help with. I explained the situation as briefly as possible. Financial aid, grant, report, Adidas. Tried to make it sound as plain as possible. But when I said the word report, my throat still tightened a bit. How do you need me to testify? I'll come to your school right away. Bring your student ID and the medical record from that time, and come over to our school. I'll write an explanation of the situation. You help me sign it, and we'll go see the teacher together. Is that okay? Then wait for me. I'll find the medical record. In an hour, meet me at your school gate. Okay, sorry for the trouble. It's no trouble. I caused this in the first place. If it weren't for the jacket I gave you, none of this would have happened. I hung up, leaned against the wall and zoned out for a few seconds. Fujikyu's voice was still echoing in my ears, sweet and soft, with the gentle grace unique to Jiangnan girls. Her tone when saying she'd come help me immediately was very decisive. Not at all like that girl shivering in the rain, who would blush when she spoke. I took 10 minutes to write the course of events into a written statement, then went downstairs to wait for her at the school gate. I stood under the big tree at the school gate. The summer heat hadn't fully dissipated yet. After standing for just a moment, I started sweating. I wanted to wipe the sweat with my sleeve, but I was afraid of leaving a mark. If I didn't wipe, sweating profusely would look terrible. Just as I was agonizing over this, Fujikyu, wearing a snow-white dress, stood in front of me. Have you been waiting long? She took a tissue from her bag and handed it to me. Not that long. I hurriedly took the tissue. It carried a faint gardenia scent, just like Fujikyu, standing next to me now. Pure and beautiful. I'll take you to the counselor's office. It's just over in that admin building. Let's go. She didn't say much along the way. I was thinking to myself that on such a hot day, I should have bought her a drink beforehand. Or brought a sun umbrella. And not let her walk so far with me. In this sun-baked campus, I walked behind Fujikyu, lagging half a body length behind. Her steps were brisk, her white dress fluttering backward in the wind. I stared at the hem of her dress, and suddenly felt my throat tighten a bit. She probably didn't know what this matter meant to me. More than the few $100 a month from the financial aid grant. It was the dignity of not wanting to ask my sister for money. She might never understand that a jacket locked in a closet, to some people, is the straw that could break a person's back. When we arrived at the counselor's office door, I stopped and raised my hand to knock. Come in. The counselor looked up and saw me, then saw Fujikyu behind me. and a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. "Hello, teacher." Fu Jikyu spoke first. Her tone was unhurried. "I'm Fu Jikyu, majoring in financial management at the neighboring finance university. I compensated him with that jacket. It has nothing to do with him himself." The counselor was stunned for a moment. Probably didn't expect me to find someone to testify so quickly, and a student from the neighboring school at that. "Have a seat first." He pointed to the chair nearby. He looked at me again. "Jiang Haibo, have a seat too." We sat down. Fu Jikyu took a file folder out of her bag, opened it, and took things out one by one. "This is the medical record from the hospital back then." She handed over a piece of paper. "That day, the rain was too heavy. I fell and scraped my knee. Jiang Haibo was the one who helped me. The record has my name and the time, which matches up, and this is the receipt for that jacket." Fu Jikyu then handed over a mall receipt. "The purchase time is the 4th day. I was the one who paid, not him." After bringing these out, she continued, "That day he gave me his own jacket. His clothes were soaked. I took it home wanting to wash it clean and return it to him. But the nanny at home noticed that the collar and cuffs of that jacket were frayed. Thinking it was old clothing no one wanted, she threw it away. I had no choice but to buy a new one to compensate him." She paused here, her voice lowering a bit. "It was my lack of foresight not to discuss it with him beforehand. But this whole incident, from start to finish, has nothing to do with his eligibility as a financial need student. He didn't buy that jacket himself." The office was quiet for a few seconds. The counselor read the medical record and the receipt over again. Then he looked up at me. "Jiang Haibo, I know you're a good kid. These proofs and your written statement, I'll make copies and keep them. Go back and wait for notification. Rest assured, the school is fair." "Thank you, teacher," I said. "Thank you, teacher," Fu Jikyu echoed. We stood up and walked toward the door. I had just pulled the door open when the counselor suddenly said, "Jiang Haibo, wear that jacket openly. Don't hide it. Don't just keep it locked in the closet." Once out of the office, the hallway was very quiet. Only the sound of our 2 sets of footsteps. Fu Jikyu walked beside me, her pace much slower than before. "Were you nervous just now?" she asked suddenly. "A little. I was nervous too." She smiled. "My palms are all sweaty." I looked down at her hands. Sure enough, as she was stuffing those papers back into the file folder, her fingers were trembling slightly. So that decisive, no-nonsense look she had earlier was all an act. "Thank you," I said. "Really?" She didn't reply, just wrapped the string around the file folder. She looked toward the end of the hallway where a window was open. The wind blew in, ruffling the loose hair on her forehead. "That financial aid grant of yours," she asked, "how much is it a month?" 400 to... She blinked. Her lips moved, as if she was getting ready to say something, but swallowed it back. She turned and walked a few steps. Then, suddenly, turned back. "Have you really never worn that jacket?" "No, why not?" I looked at her, thought for a moment, and said something even I thought was a bit silly. "I was afraid of getting it dirty." She was stunned for a moment, and then burst out laughing. Her eyes crinkled into crescents, revealing a row of neat teeth. She was really so cute. When we walked out of the admin building, it was nearly 5 p.m. I took her to the school cafeteria and treated her to a simple dinner. She ordered a bowl of beef noodle soup. I had the boss add an extra fried egg for her. While waiting for the noodles, I went to the campus shop and bought her a slightly more expensive Assam milk tea. The dinner atmosphere was very harmonious. Eating the noodles made us sweat profusely. Jikyu gave me that whole pack of tissues of hers. She was truly a great girl. The news of my second sister getting married was something my mom told me over the phone. On the other end of the line, my mom's voice sounded quite joyful. "Your second sister finally found a match this time," my mom said on the phone, her tone carrying a kind of relieved satisfaction. "The guy's family is in good shape, and he treats her well enough. When the time comes, take a leave of absence and come over." My second sister and my future brother-in-law picked me up at the station. She was wearing a red jacket. Her hair was permed, and she had light makeup on. Compared to when I went home for the new year, she looked a lot more spirited. "Seeing us." She jogged over, hugged my mom, and cried out, "Mom," her voice choking up. Mom cried too, patting my second sister's back, saying, "It's good, it's good." I looked my future brother-in-law up and down. He wasn't tall. His skin was dark, and when he smiled, he showed a mouth full of tobacco-stained teeth. "Uncle, auntie," he handed over some fruit, calling them pretty naturally. Must have been a tiring trip. My parents kept saying, "Not tiring, not tiring." Mom took the fruit, a big smile on her face. The next day, we met the guy's parents so. At the dinner table, Zhou Jianguo's father brought up the bride price, putting it right on the table. They agreed upon 188,000, not a penny less. It's already prepared. Hearing this, the smile on Mom's face deepened. Dad raised his wine glass and clinked it with the other sides, saying, "As long as the two kids live a good life together, that's what matters." I kept my head down eating rice, stirring my chopsticks in my bowl. I couldn't taste anything. What really made me uncomfortable was that, at the engagement dinner that night, a few of Zhou Jianguo's friends were being really rowdy, egging my second sister on to drink. My second sister declined, saying she couldn't drink. Zhou Jianguo was beside her, smiling and waving his hand. "It's fine, it's fine. Just a small cup, just for show." My second sister looked at him, and didn't decline further. She picked up the glass and took a sip. Then came the toasts. My second sister was wearing a pair of high heels. The heels were thin and high. She normally never wore this kind of shoe. When she walked, her steps were clearly unsteady. She stood for almost an hour. Several times in between, she secretly slipped her feet out of the shoes, resting her toes on the vamp of the shoe to take a break. Zhou Jianguo was next to her, clinking glasses with people, never once looking down at her feet. I walked over and whispered in my second sister's ear, "Sis, sit down and rest for a bit." She was startled for a moment, smiled at me and said, "It's fine, it's fine. It'll be over soon." Back at the hotel that night, Mom and Dad were in the next room. My second sister came over to talk to me. She brought me a cell phone. "Your brother-in-law bought this for you." "Sis, I don't want it." "How do you feel? Zhou Jianguo treats you pretty good," my second sister said, her tone very natural. "He gives me his salary every month. Whatever I say I want to eat, he goes and buys it. And he gave so much for the bride price this time. Aren't Mom and Dad pretty satisfied?" "I'm not talking about money," I said. "I mean today, him making you drink, making you wear high heels and stand for so long." My second sister cut me off. "That's just the kind of person he is. Not caught up in the details. In the big things, he'll look out for me." "Don't worry, Haibo," she said. "Your sister isn't young anymore. Middle school graduate, working in factories for so many years. Finding someone like your brother-in-law is already pretty good. There are some things he doesn't do perfectly, but who is perfect anyway?" My second sister stood up and patted me on the shoulder, telling me to get to sleep early. I had to catch a train tomorrow. When she walked to the door, I called out to her, "Sis." I said, "Thank you for buying me a phone." She turned back, her eyes instantly turning red, but she held it in forced a smile and said, "Silly boy," and then pulled the door open and left. Back at school, I took out the phone my second sister gave me. The SIM card was already set up. I typed in the number I had memorized, making hers the very first number in my contacts. For many days after that, I would just stare at that number in a daze, but I didn't dare call even once. Winter in the Jiangsu, Zhejiang, Shanghai area is freezing. The wind blowing on your body feels like knives scraping against your face. Ding-a-ling. The bell on the KFC door rang. A customer came in. I was wiping a table with my head down, and habitually said, "Welcome." I looked up. Walking in was Fu Jiqiu and a few of her girlfriends. She was wearing a dark brown woolen coat, with a black fuzzy scarf around her neck. Seeing her walk in, I felt a hidden thrill of joy, a sense of openness. Jiqiu's eyes lit up when she saw me. "Jiang Haibo, you work here." Her girlfriends looked over too, their gazes sweeping over me, with a look of curious appraisal. Subconsciously, I tugged at the rubber gloves on my hands, trying to cover the frayed threads on my cuffs. "Yeah," I said, "doing a part-time job here, in my free time." I stopped the coworker who was going to take her order, stepped up myself, and took out all the coupons I had saved up, and gave them to her. Whether she needed them or not, I just wanted to give them to her. She didn't refuse, took them, and looked down to order a few things. I didn't go over and bother them while they had tea, just kept watch from a distance. Put extra napkins on their tray. Put extra ketchup. The manager called me to the back to move some chicken nuggets. When I got back to the lobby, she was already gone. Only a black scarf was left on the seat. I grabbed the scarf and rushed out the door. The wind was howling outside, making my ears hurt. People on the street were rushing by. But no Fu Jikyu. I went back inside, took out my phone, and dialed that number I'd been too afraid to call. The ringback tone had changed from Jay Chu to Stephanie Sun. It sounded good, played through many times. But no one answered. The phone screen went dark, then lit up again. I opened a text message, typed a few words, deleted them, typed again, deleted again. Finally sent one. This is Jiang Haibo. This is my number. You left your scarf at the store. I'm holding on to it for you. It's cold outside. If you haven't gone far, come back and get it. Or, I can bring it to you another day. I stuffed the scarf into my backpack. Because of this scarf, Fu Jikyu and I started communicating frequently. After getting my phone number, she'd randomly send me texts. Jiang Haibo, what's your major? Physics. What do you study in physics? Mechanics, thermodynamics, electromagnetism. I'm having a breakdown over math. You science majors aren't human. We finance majors have to study advanced math. It's so twisted. If you're stuck, you can ask me. Your problems shouldn't be too hard. After that, she'd come find me at KFC every few days. Sometimes it was calculus. Sometimes linear algebra. Sometimes probability theory. I'd get to work a little early and go through all the problems with her. It was only after interacting with her that I realized such a gentle and quiet-looking girl on the outside was actually a little chatterbox. If she ran into a problem she really couldn't do, she'd get frustrated, pout her lips, and glare at me. The Fu Jikyu now was much more lively. One night, I got a call from her. Her voice on the phone was hoarse. Clearly she'd been crying. I don't want to study finance at all. My dad signed me up for it. He wants me to go intern at his company. I said I can support myself. The novel I'm serializing on so-and-so website has a lot of readers. The royalties pay more than an accountant makes. So, what kind of novel are you writing? I interrupted her complaining, also trying to break her negative spiral, so she could calm down. Not telling you why it's not suitable for you to read. I can read anything. No, 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 she said, no 3 times in a row. Really not suitable for you. If you read it, I wouldn't be able to show my face around you. Okay. Then I won't read it. But if it gets published as a physical book when you're done, remember to give me a signed copy. That I can do. Jiang Haibo, thank you. Thank you for being willing to listen to me talk about this. What are you planning to do? Go be an accountant. Do you think I should go? You should. Fu Jikyu was just about to argue back. I immediately stopped her. Listen to me. You haven't actually worked as an accountant, you don't know it. You can go try it out first. Anyway, the internship is only a few months. If you really don't like it, you can lay your cards on the table with your dad then. You'll have ground to stand on. You try it. You aren't just messing around. It's just truly not a fit. The line was quiet for a few seconds. But when I think about facing spreadsheets and numbers every day, I just feel like life has no hope. And I'm not good at dealing with those numbers. Her voice was still very muffled, very nasal. How do you know? You passed advanced math with a high score this semester. She was stunned for a moment, and then burst out laughing. The laugh still had a bit of a sob she hadn't swallowed back. It sounded both funny and heartbreaking. Jiang Haibo, your way of comforting people is so weird. Then just try it out. I said. Besides, you're still writing your novel. The royalties are still coming in. Walking on 2 legs, you don't lose out. I will never give up on my novel. The main characters are my sons. I absolutely have to give them a happy ending. Why are they sons, and not daughters? Don't worry about it. It was already very late when I hung up. Lying in my dorm bed, I also started thinking about my future. About to start an internship. I needed to start planning for myself early. If I wanted to pursue Fu Jikyu, I at least had to be able to afford a house in the Jiangsu Zhejiang Shanghai area. And the bride price. Is the bride price high here? The most crucial point. Would she like me? Would she want to walk down the road of life with me? The final year of university. Everyone started interning. I participated in the school's campus recruitment and was successfully hired by a Fortune 500 company. When HR called, I had just gotten off work at KFC. Taking the call standing in the back alley, he said, "Congratulations, classmate Jiang, welcome aboard." I was overjoyed internally. I could stay in the big city. I took out my phone, scrolled through my contacts. Who to call? Mom and dad? Oldest sister? Second sister? Yes. My thumb paused over the name, Fu Jikyu. Could I try pursuing her now? I worked up the courage and pressed dial. "Hello, Jiang Haibo. It's me. I want to tell you some good news. I got hired by so-and-so company." Wow, that's awesome. A Fortune 500 company and a foreign enterprise. I knew you could do it. Yeah. I paused for a long time, trying to organize my words, how to bring it up. "I want to ask if you'd be willing to be my girlfriend. Are you willing to come to Shanghai to see me? Are you willing to let me come back to see you?" What's wrong? That company is in Shanghai. I'm going to be moving there. Does that mean I won't get to see you anymore? Fujiqiu, can you give me the chance to come back and see you on weekends? What? Fujiqiu didn't catch the logic in what I was saying at first. I mean, if I come back on the weekends, could I treat you? Before I could even finish, Fujiqiu agreed immediately. Okay. Thank you, Fujiqiu. You're welcome. After hanging up, I realized what I had said was so illogical. Back at the dorm, Liu Neng, who slept in the bunk opposite mine, pulled a long face. Oh, the high flyer knows to come back. Every time he opens his mouth, it's full of gunpowder. This guy usually always looked down on me for being a country bumpkin. He felt that from head to toe, I reeked of poverty. When we first started school, because he couldn't beat me for a class committee spot, he always held a grudge during that financial aid grant issue. I guessed he was the one who complained. Since the matter was resolved later, I didn't hold it against him. This time, supposedly, he also sent his resume to so-and-so company. He must not have passed and is throwing a tantrum. I ignored him and walked back to my bed, put my backpack on the desk. Just the impotent rage of a loser. It automatically translated in my head into applause for being defeated by me. The more upset he was, the more it proved I was better than him. Do you guys think he got hired on his own merits? Didn't he rely on that rich girl he's always kissing up to? That Fu Jiqiu. Her dad is a supplier for so-and-so company. He only got in by sucking up. Liu Neng, you better shut your mouth. If you don't have proof, don't talk nonsense. We also don't want to hear you say these random things making up stories about people. The dorm head stood up and told Liu Neng to shut up. Oh, if he can do it, why can't I say it? Fujiqiu is a bitch too. A perfectly good rich girl from Jiangsu Zhejiang, Shanghai, liking a country simp like him. What? A total bitch. Who the fuck are you calling a bitch? I rushed over, grabbed him by the collar, and lifted him up. With his small frame, barely over 5'7", I picked him up easily. Jiang Haibo, don't be impulsive. It's not worth it over a guy like him. The roommates rushed forward to talk me down, and pulled Liu Neng out of my grip, breaking free from my hold. Broke ass! Liu Neng cursed as he walked out of the dorm. Bang! He slammed the dorm door shut. Bro, you gotta hold it in, don't throw punches. It's only a few days left. Getting a disciplinary mark over a guy like this, and affecting your internship, isn't worth it. The roommates came over to comfort me. I patted the dorm head's shoulder. Thanks, bro. I get it. Good that you get it. I walked back to my bed, sat down on it, took my major textbook out of my backpack, and looked at it, completely unable to focus. My mind was full of Fujiqiu. Her getting cursed out because of me. It made me feel worse than getting cursed out myself. I took out my phone to text Fujiqiu. I already quit at KFC. I don't have to work on the weekend. Can I treat you to a movie this Saturday? The mall cinema is playing Avatar at 2 p.m. Okay, see you at the cinema at 2 p.m. on Saturday. Be there or be square. Okay, be there or be square. I put down my phone and picked up the textbook beside me again. Finally, I could read it properly. As soon as class ended on Friday, I went to the cinema and bought the tickets for the next day. I was afraid that if I went late, I wouldn't get good seats. This movie was too popular. I also went to the upper floors of the mall and walked around several times, looking at all the restaurants to see which one was suitable for me to treat Fujiqiu to a meal. Japanese food portions were very small, and the raw stuff, I was afraid she'd get an upset stomach. Western food had a good vibe. but I didn't have a good grasp on using a knife and fork. If I made a fool of myself, it'd be embarrassing. Hot pot was lively, but smelling like it afterward wouldn't be appropriate. On my third lap set, I stopped in front of a Sichuan restaurant. On the sign out front were pictures of bright red boiled fish and spicy chicken. Just looking at it made the spicy flavor hit you. I suddenly remembered Fu Jikyu saying that among Jiangsu Zhejiang Shanghai girls, she was the rare type who loved spicy food. When she said this, her tone carried a hint of pride, like it was something amazing. This place, it is. Early Saturday morning, I woke up before my alarm. I put on that Adidas jacket Fu Jikyu bought me, got up super early, washed my hair, shaved. The dorm head even wanted to style my hair for me. I felt it was too deliberate and refused. At 11 o'clock, I went to the cafeteria to eat. Set off right after eating. Arrived at the mall before 12. Seemed I got there too early. Walked back and forth with nothing to do. Finally, went to KFC. My old coworkers were still busy in the store. The manager came over to greet me. "Oh, looking super handsome today. Got a date with little Fu." "Yeah, catching a movie at 2 p.m. Tried my best to make my tone sound natural. Nice. I thought you two had a spark before. Little Fu is obviously a great girl." The manager patted my shoulder. "After the movie, treat the girl to a good meal. Booked a restaurant. Planning to take her for Sichuan food. That one, on the 3rd floor. Yeah, I'll give them a call for you later. Just drop my name. You'll get a 20% discount on the meal." "Thanks, manager." My heart warmed up. Don't be a stranger. Have a seat. By yourself. I'll get back to work. Okay, get back to work. The manager was a good guy. Around 1:30, I went to the cinema entrance to wait for Fu Jikyu. When she walked out, at first glance, I almost didn't recognize her. Fu Jikyu was wearing a pale yellow dress, with an off-white coat over it. Her hair was curled into stylish waves, draped over her shoulders, swaying gently as she walked. She wore light makeup, with a thin layer of lipstick on her lips. It wasn't a very bright color. It was a very natural color. As she walked toward me, I felt everything around me blur out. Those people coming and going, the noisy chatter, the background music all retreated very, very far away. Only she was moving forward, closer and closer, clearer and clearer. My heartbeat started to speed up. Thump thump, like someone was knocking inside my chest. Beat by beat, heavy and tight. My face was rapidly heating up, burning all the way from my neck to the tips of my ears. I could feel that heat, like there was fire running through my veins. "Jiang Haibo, have you been waiting long?" "No, I just got here too." "Did you get the tickets?" "Tickets are bought." I held up the tickets in my hand to show her, then felt the movement was too silly, and quickly put them down. "It's still early. Let's go buy some food." "What flavor popcorn do you want?" "I'll go buy you milk tea." I didn't want to buy it too early in case it got cold. It wouldn't taste good cold. I was a bit nervous. My speaking speed was a bit fast too, wanting to quickly express my thoughts. "You look so pretty today." After saying that last sentence, my face got even redder. Fu Jikyu was stunned for a moment, and then her face turned red too. Starting from her cheeks, it slowly spread out, spreading all the way to the roots of her ears. She lowered her head, reached up to smooth her hair. "You too," she said softly. Her voice was so soft, it was almost drowned out by the mall's background music. "You look very sharp in this jacket." I looked down at the gray Adidas on my body. Today was the first time I wore it. It finally arrived where it was supposed to be. On the way back, we chose to walk back to school. I had walked this road alone for 3 years. Today was different. Today someone was walking it with me. The night breeze wasn't cold, just the right temperature, felt very comfortable blowing on my face. The street lamps stretched our shadows out long, sometimes in front, sometimes behind, occasionally overlapping, then separating again. Fu Jikyu walked on my left, head down, her curly hair falling forward, covering half her face. I didn't know what she was thinking. She didn't say much the whole way. I secretly turned my head to look at her. Through her hair, I saw her flushed face. When we got to the bus stop, Fu Jikyu suddenly stopped. "Jiang Haibo." She looked up, her eyes shining under the street lamp. "I fell right here." "I know, of course, I know. I pass by here almost every day. Every time I pass by, I think of it. I was right here back then. She took 2 steps toward the curb, turned around to face me, pointing at the curb under her feet. I missed this step. She started gesturing animatedly as she spoke. My body even spun a full circle in the air. She acted it out as she spoke, stood on her tiptoes, making a motion like she missed a step, mimicked that full circle spinning motion. Her body tilted, pretending to fall. I was so amused by her I almost laughed out loud. But she was wearing heels today. Halfway through that pretending to fall spinning motion, her center of gravity really shifted. Her body jerked to one side. Without time to think, I took a step forward. My right hand grabbed her hand. My left hand wrapped around her waist. Her waist was very thin. Even through that off-white coat, I could feel the sudden tension in her body. Her hand was in my grip. Her fingertips were cool, trembling slightly. Time seemed to stop. The street lamp's light fell on her face. Her eyes were huge. Her eyelashes cast a small fan-shaped shadow under her eyes. She looked at me. I looked at her. We were very close. So close I could see the reflection of myself in her pupils. Jiang Haibo, she spoke first, her voice soft. You called my name again. You be a little more careful, I said, my voice hoarser than I expected. My arm was still around her waist. I hadn't let go. Her fingers slowly curled inward in my palm. She showed no sign of pushing me away. Jiang Haibo, she called my name again. This time her voice was even softer. Yehi. Would you be willing to? She got halfway and bit her lip, like she was hyping herself up. Under the street lamp, her face was incredibly red. Even the tips of her ears were pink. Would you be willing to be my boyfriend? My heartbeat seemed to stop for that instant, and then, suddenly, pounded. Shouldn't I be the one to say that one? I had rehearsed this countless times in my head. That one day, at the right moment, I would work up the courage and tell her, Fu Jikyu, I like you. Would you be willing to be with me? I even thought about how she might answer. Thought she might hesitate, might say she needed to think about it, or might smile and agree. I'd considered all the possibilities, but I never expected her to speak first. I should be the one to say that. I heard myself say. I looked into her eyes, saying word by word, Fu Jikyu, would you be willing to be my girlfriend? When the words I am willing landed, my grip on her hand tightened. The hand around her waist also tightened. She shuffled forward half a step, her forehead resting against my chest. My chin rested on the top of her head. I could smell the faint scent of her hair. Jiang Haibo, your heart is beating so fast. I'm nervous. I soon arrived at the company in Shanghai to report for duty. This time, so-and-so company recruited from surrounding universities, hiring 20 people in total, all from top-tier universities. I Sol Liu Neng. Seems the one who really got in through connections was someone else. The company was big. The 20 of us lived in dorms arranged by the company. The dorm area was very close to the factory. Just a 15-minute walk. The HR rep, leading us, explained as we walked. Interns live in shared dorms. 1 dorm, 2 beds, 1 bathroom. When you become full-time engineers, you can apply for a single room upstairs. Shardis started explaining the internship schedule. The first 3 months are rotations. The 20 of you will go to every station in the factory in turn. Learn material prep, production, assembly, testing, FPC. You have to stay at each station for at least 10 days, until you thoroughly understand the entire production process. After 3 months, based on performance and personal preference, there will be a 2-way selection, assigned to the most suitable department. These 3 months will be very hard. Ayer's tone was measured. Frontline work isn't like an office. Some workshops have noise. Some workshops have temperature and humidity requirements, and no AC. And some workshops constantly use chemicals. Be prepared. I nodded, lugging my suitcase up to the 3rd floor. The guy I was rooming with wore glasses. He smiled and greeted me. Hey, hello, I'm Chen Rui. Mechanical engineering at X University. Haibo. Physics at so-and-so university. I leaned my suitcase against the door, glanced around the room. Called a dorm. It looked more like a standard hotel room. The environment was pretty good. The next day, official work started. I changed into a white dress shirt, clipped my badge to my chest, and checked myself in the mirror by the dorm door. The shirt was a discount item Fujitsu picked out for me. Classic style, comfortable fabric. She had great taste. Internship life was much harder than I imagined. First stop, material prep. The noise in the workshop was like 1,000 bees, buzzing in your ear at the same time. The production line conveyor belt never stopped. How the operators operated, how the technicians debugged, how the engineers worked, how the planning specialists schedule. We had to understand it all. It was truly exhausting, but it felt grounding. The level of importance the company placed on this batch of interns. Everyone could feel it. I specifically held 2 symposiums for us to ask about our learning progress and difficulties. The heads of each department took turns giving lectures. From the production line to supply chain to quality management. You could tell the company valued the 20 of us very much, dedicated to developing us into the company's future backbone. Every weekend, I'd take a day to go see Fu Jiqiu. She had started interning too. Her dad eventually arranged for her to go into his own company's finance department, under the guise of gaining experience. Slacking off at work during the day to write novels, staying up late at home at night to write novels. Those were her exact words. I asked if she wasn't afraid her coworkers would catch her slacking off during the day. She proudly said, I changed my Word document background to green. Set the font to Fang Song. From far away, who can tell if it's a novel or a spreadsheet? Haibo, you don't have to come back this weekend. I'm coming to Shanghai to see you. Fu Jiqiu's smiling voice came through the receiver. Okay, I'll take you to eat something good in Shanghai. There's a dessert shop next to our company. I heard it's really good. Really? Then I definitely have to try. Saying that, she paused. But I'm coming to handle some real business. Can you come with me? I'm afraid of running into danger. There's a team that wants to make my novel into an audio drama. We agreed to meet up in Shanghai to talk details. I've only ever contacted them online. I don't know what they look like in real life. Soon, it was the weekend. I went to the station early to pick up Fu Jiqiu. Watching her walk out of the crowd, a smile broke out on her face. Her eyes crinkled into crescents. She ran toward me. I opened my arms, and she crashed into my embrace. At that moment, I felt the whole station go quiet. I was truly so happy. I smiled and rubbed her hair. Don't rub it. My hairstyle is ruined, she mumbled, pouting. It looks good messy too. I was being serious. Even if her hair was a bird's nest, in my eyes, she'd still look good. No way. I have to meet outsiders later. I accompanied Fu Jiqiu to the cafe they agreed on. The shop was on an old street in Shanghai. The storefront was small, but it was deep inside. There were partitions between the seats. Good privacy. When we arrived, the other party wasn't there yet. Fu Jiqiu looked around, pointed to a table in the middle. I'll sit there, she said. Then she pointed to another spot in the corner. You sit here. You can see me, but you won't be able to hear us talk. My heart gave a little lurch. She still didn't want me to know what she was writing. To say I wasn't disappointed would be a lie, but I didn't press her. She had her own boundaries, and I respected her. Okay, I nodded. If anything happens, just look at me, and I'll come right over. She smiled at me, turned, walked over to that table, and sat down. She took a notebook out of her canvas bag, and a pen, and placed them neatly on the table, like a recent grad getting ready for an interview. Her earnestness was kind of cute. 3 people showed up from the other side, 2 guys and 1 girl, all wearing backpacks, dressed very much like students, looked like college students or recent grads. The girl in the lead was looking all around as soon as she walked in. When she saw Fu Jiqiu, her eyes lit up. She jogged over, calling out, "Boss." Fu Jiqiu stood up, shook hands with them, smiled and exchanged a few words. The 3 of them sat down. That girl took a laptop out of her bag, opened it, and turned it around to show Fu Jiqiu. The other 2 guys were next to her adding something. They seemed very serious. Didn't look like bad guys. From a distance, I watched Fu Jiqiu's expression go from slightly nervous at first to slowly relaxing. That girl was talking very animatedly, gesturing with her hands. Fu Jiqiu listened, and then smiled. They chatted for about an hour or so. Finally, the 3 of them stood up, shook hands with Fu Jiqiu again, said goodbye, put on their backpacks, and left. The whole process was very normal and smooth. There were no signs that required me to rush over. Fu Jiqiu walked toward me. All done? You didn't need to sign a contract or anything. Done just like that. Yeah, we've been chatting online for a long time. This time was just to discuss a few details. This is purely a labor of love. Not for commercial use, absolutely no profit. Don't worry, there are chat logs of our online conversations. And I recorded the whole thing offline just now. Absolutely no profit. Labor of love. These phrases would never show up in my life. She really is a little princess. We were just getting ready to leave when an Audi pulled up to the cafe entrance. A middle-aged man stepped out of the car. He looked furious as he got out. Subconsciously, I blocked Fu Ziqiu. Dad, why are you here? Fu Ziqiu, next to me, spoke. Her voice laced with panic. Your cousin said you're in Shanghai meeting online friends. Could I not come? Her dad's voice was heavy. Dad, I'm 23, not 3 years old. I know what I'm doing. Going to another city to meet online friends by yourself. I can't just not worry. I specifically sneaked a look at yours and your cousin's QQ chat logs. That's how I found this cafe. Is this your online friend? Her dad sized me up and down with his eyes. Sir, you've misunderstood. I don't know if you remember, but we've briefly met before. 2 years ago, Jiqiu fell at a bus stop. I helped. After I finished, I saw Fu's dad's stern expression relax a bit. Clearly he remembered me. I work in Shanghai. This time, Jiqiu was coming to Shanghai to meet some online partners. She was afraid of running into bad people. So, she asked me to accompany her. I paused and added, she's very safe. Young man, it's you. He looked at Fu Jiqiu and then back at me. Dad. Fu Jiqiu spoke up. Someone wants to make my novel into an audio drama. I just met the people I'm working with. We've been chatting online for half a year. This trip to Shanghai was just to hash out some final details. I was afraid of being unsafe alone. So I asked Jiang Haibo to tag along. I'm not a kid anymore. I know how to protect myself. Fu's dad was silent for a few seconds. The wind blew over from the intersection, making the hem of his suit jacket flutter slightly. He raised his hand to adjust his tie. A gesture that seemed to buy him a moment to process things. Get in the car first, he said, in a tone that brokered no argument. We'll talk when we get back. Fu Jiqiu looked at me. Her lips moved, like she wanted to say something. I subtly shook my head, meaning don't talk back to him right now. She pressed her lips together, lowered her head, and walked to the car, pulled open the back door. I said, then I won't intrude. Jiqiu, text me when you get back. Fu's dad looked at me, nodded, pulled open the door and got into the driver's seat. The car slowly drove off. My phone dinged. It was a text from Fu Jiqiu. Just 2 brief words. Wait for me. I stood at the cafe entrance. The wind chimes overhead rang again. The employee poked their head out, looked at me, and ducked back in. I took out my phone, scrolled to a name, hesitated a bit, but still dialed. After 3 rings it connected on the other end. Hello. My mom's voice came through the receiver, carrying a hint of surprise. I rarely called at this time. Mom, I said, I have something to tell you. What is it? Work not going well? No, work is great. I took a deep breath. I have a girlfriend. The other end of the line was quiet for a second, and then my mom's voice went up an octave. Really? Where is she from? What does she do? What is she like? I couldn't help but laugh. My mom's focus was always the most practical. She's a great person. I really like her. That's wonderful. Mom's voice carried an unconcealable joy. Your dad will be thrilled when he finds out. As long as you think she's good, that's what matters. Mom trusts your judgment. Yeah, I said. Once things settle down, I'll bring her back to see you. I hung up. I stood by the road, the sunlight falling on my shoulders. I knew Fu's dad had guessed our relationship. The following days passed in a blur of busyness. Opportunities for Fu Jiqiu and me to see each other grew fewer. More phone contact. After a busy day, hearing Fu Jiqiu's voice on the phone made everything better. My internship quickly came to an end. I was hired on full-time as an R&D engineer in the R&D department. Liu Neng stayed in the testing department as a testing engineer, and my intern roommate Lai Rui stayed in the equipment department. During the internship, you could tell the manager of the testing department and Liu Neng must have known each other. The first time I independently submitted a testing ticket for production, from material prep to production to testing. I tracked the data feedback the whole way. Everything went smoothly all the way, until the testing phase. Before the product went to the testing floor, I made sure to email the production department, testing department, and planning department to remind them to collect testing data and defect analysis. Only after I verified it could it proceed to the next step. But something unexpected happened. Without my verification, and without any data feedback, my testing batch was sent straight from the testing station to the next station at 3 a.m. By the time I got to work, it was already in the finished goods area. There was absolutely no way to retest it, and the data collection was completely pointless. My direct supervisor, Mr. Chen, threw a huge fit. He helped me send an email chewing them out. But the testing department dodged the blame, saying planning was rushing them, and they didn't dare hold it up. Planning said they had no idea. Production said they were only responsible for producing IT. After passing the buck back and forth, nothing happened. 2 weeks of my work, down the drain. Little Jiang, don't get discouraged. It's not your fault. I'll take the heat. We'll reissue the order and try again. Boss, I'm okay. But the data wasn't collected, and I'm partly to blame. I should have kept a closer eye on it. Mr. Chen patted my shoulder to make me feel better. He felt this was just an accident, a hiccup in cross-departmental collaboration. But I didn't see it that way. It just had to be the testing department where things went wrong. Could it really be that much of a coincidence? I prepared materials for a new testing batch, optimized and adjusted it based on the existing first batch. I couldn't let the first batch be a total waste. I tracked it the whole way, through every station. It was expected to reach the testing department at 2 a.m. the next day. I set an alarm for 1 a.m., got up in the middle of the night, and went to the production line. I had bought a case of drinks in advance, and left it in the office. Grabbed a few bottles and headed to the production line. When I arrived at the testing department technician's workspace, they were very surprised to see me. I handed out the drinks. Thanks for your hard work, guys. This batch of mine is very important. I have to watch it the entire way. Sorry to bother everyone. No bother at all. The testing technicians were very polite. I stayed with them while they collected the testing data. To ensure data stability, they helped me run the tests 3 times. The defect analysis was done very thoroughly. They put together the analysis report right then and there, and emailed it to me. By the time all this was done, it was already dawn. I didn't feel like sleeping anymore. Went back to the office, made a cup of coffee, and started analyzing the data. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. I became more and more familiar with the technicians in the testing department. While they were doing the test analysis, I'd hang out in their workspace and chat with them. Little Jiang, I was the one who received your first testing batch. I was on the night shift that day. I didn't get any handover info from the day shift about your batch. It was just passed to the next station like a regular batch. The day shift engineer is a relative of our manager, so we couldn't really say anything. The person talking to me was a technician. Brother Chu was an honest guy, had been working diligently in the testing department for 5 years. Brother Chu, it's fine. It's all in the past. The data is collected now. As long as you understand, you are a good engineer and highly educated. Not at all like that new guy in our department. Completely different. He always looks down on us. Vocational school graduates, technicians. His words dripped with a sense of superiority. I didn't reply. It was best to avoid getting involved in these kinds of topics. He was probably talking about Lu Neng. Seems this college roommate of mine hasn't changed one bit. I handed a drink to Brother Chu. He went over to the corner and drank it. At 3 a.m., when people are the sleepiest, having something sweet can help wake you up a bit. During this break, I started looking at their testing fixtures. There were rows of testing pins on the fixture. I saw the label for Zhengxiong equipment. Fujiq's dad was named Fu Zhengxiong. Brother Chu, this Zhengxiong equipment, are they your main supplier? No, just asking out of curiosity. They aren't our main supplier. The testing fixtures they produce aren't stable enough, but they're cheap, so we occasionally use their products too. What causes the instability? The testing pins are the problem. We've tried putting other testing pins onto Zhengxiong's fixtures, and it's much more stable. But the metal ratio for the testing pin tips They have patents for that. Normal people can't use it. They either develop it themselves or sell other companies' testing pins at a high price. Zhang Xiong can't do it. Their R&D department isn't good enough. Brother Chu, you're really impressive. You're an expert in this field. Don't say that. I deal with these things every day. How could I not know? These past few days, I've been thinking about this testing pin issue. I frequently go find Brother Chu to look at their testing pins, carefully analyzing every single pin tip. Brother Chu didn't hide anything either. When he had time, he'd talk to me about what I needed to do. I started looking up all kinds of data and papers. Zhang Xiong's manufacturing process had no problems. The main issue was a slight deficiency in the electroplating. Soon, it was the new year. The company's annual party was held at a five-star hotel in Shanghai. The hall was brightly lit. Dozens of round tables were spread out. Red tablecloths, gold chairs, the LED screen on the stage, looped, playing the company's report card for the year. I wore a newly bought dark blue suit. It wasn't a big brand, but it fit well. Made my 6'1" frame look even sharper. It was Fu Jiqiu who helped me pick out the other department spot. I was seated in the middle left, not the core area. But still, I sat down, straightened my badge, and casually chatted with the co-worker next to me. And then, I saw Fu Zhengxiong come in. He was wearing a dark gray suit, followed by a young assistant. As soon as he walked in, he was welcomed by the sales director, shaking hands, exchanging pleasantries, patting shoulders, as warm as long-lost brothers. I lowered my head and took a sip of tea from my cup. I knew well that suppliers attending the annual party were essentially just there to sponsor the raffle. It was so-and-so company's annual party tradition. Big suppliers sponsored cash prizes and gifts. They'd go on stage, show their face. The company gave them face, toasted a few glasses. Everyone got what they needed. Fu Zhengxiong couldn't be considered a top-tier supplier. Being able to sit next to the main table was already the company giving him face. I didn't rashly go up to say hello. Only when we ran into each other in the restroom did I say a few words. Uncle Fu, little Jack, you work at so-and-so company. What department? I'm an R&D engineer in the R&D department. Not bad. So-and-so is a big company. Work hard. Thank you, uncle. No extra words. Didn't say anything more. During the New Year period, I decided not to go back to my hometown. I sent my parents $30 and sent a red envelope for my oldest sister's child. I mailed some supplements to my pregnant second sister. The Spring Festival in Shanghai was very quiet. The company gave us 7 days off. Most people in the dorm building had gone back. The hallways were completely empty. Not even an echo. I bought some deli meats, frozen dumplings, and a few packs of instant noodles. I spent New Year's Eve in the dorm. The first year of work, there were too many things to keep busy with it. I had several projects I was following up on. I thought about it for a long time, and still wanted to get the testing pin issue sorted out. Looked up a lot of domestic and international materials, contacted classmates working in the field, drafted a preliminary feasibility plan, sent that plan to Fu Jiqiu, then typed a line, Jiqiu, help me send this to your dad. Ask him if he's interested in chatting. I didn't know what Fu Zhengxiong would think. Maybe he'd think this kid was a toad, lusting after swan meat, using work as an excuse to suck up. Maybe he'd think the plan was immature. The tech wasn't up to par, and throw it straight in the trash. Maybe he wouldn't even read it, but I wanted to try. I did these things precisely for Fu Jiqiu. I had to first make myself worthy of her. Being worthy isn't just talk. Marriage can't rely on feelings alone. I had to have my own value. My phone buzzed. Fu Jiqiu replied, forwarded. He said he'll read it. Then another text. Why are you working over the new year? Are you a workaholic? You didn't go home. Are you spending the new year alone in Shanghai? Are you alone in the dorm? I'll come keep you company. Jiqiu, no need. I want to use the time over the new year to wrap up a few projects I have on hand. I'm very fulfilled. Just stay home and keep uncle and auntie company, and don't you have things to tell me? Uncle Fu gave me a reply very quickly. On the 5th day of the new year, I was still in the dorm, organizing testing data on my computer. My phone rang, an unknown number without a label. I picked it up. The person introduced himself as the VP's assistant, surnamed Zhao, his tone as polite as treating a formal client. Mr. Jiang, the VP, read your plan. He'd like to invite you to the factory for a face-to-face chat. Is tomorrow morning convenient for you? I'll arrange a car to pick you up. The next morning, a black Buick Glide parked punctually downstairs at the dorm. The driver wore a dark jacket, didn't talk much, opened the door for me, and drove straight toward the outskirts of the city. Fu Zhengxiang's factory was in an industrial park in the northwest corner of Shanghai. Assistant Zhao was waiting for me at the main gate, led me down a hallway. The office building conference room was on the first floor. When I pushed the door open, there were already 3 people inside. Fu Zhengxiang sat at the head of the long table, wearing a navy blue jacket, much more casual than when I saw him at the hotel for the annual party. But his aura still had that authoritative, no-nonsense posture. Seeing me come in, he raised his chin and said, "Sit." No pleasantries, no polite bowing. On either side of him sat a middle-aged man, both looking to be in their early 40s. One wore glasses. The other was a bit bald. On the table were several printed documents. I glanced at them, recognizing a few pages from my plan. This is our chief engineer, Old Wu. Fu Zhengxiang pointed to the one with glasses. This is Engineer Lai, from the technical department. Pointing to the balding one. The 2 men nodded at me. Their expressions weren't warm, but they weren't hostile either. More like they were sizing up a recent grad, here for an interview. Scrutinizing, evaluating, TBD. Little Jiang, Fu Zhengxiang, pushed the plan on the table toward me. I read this plan of yours. The general direction is fine, but when it comes to specific process details, today I had Old Wu and Engineer Li go over it with you to see the feasibility of actually implementing IT. I happened to sit down, took out my notebook from my backpack, and the real interaction began. From the very first sentence, a problem was found. Mr. Jiang, the heat treatment process mentioned in your plan. Old Wu pushed up his glasses, flipped to a page in the plan, tapped his finger on it. Requires a hardness of HRC 5862, while the core maintains toughness. Our current process can reach around HRC 55. Any higher in brittleness becomes an issue. The yield rate will drop. Are you currently using vacuum heat treatment or salt bath? I asked. Old Wu was stunned for a moment. Vacuum. We've only had this equipment for 3 years. It's considered new in the industry. And the quenching medium. Oil. I looked down and jotted a couple lines in my notebook. Looked up at him. Could you try gas quenching? Old Wu furrowed his brow slightly. Looked at Engineer Lai. Engineer Li took over. Gas quenching? Deformation was unstable, and the cost was high. We evaluated it before, and eventually went back to oil quenching. What gas did you use? Nitrogen? What was the pressure? Engineer Li stated a value. After hearing it, I calculated it in my notebook. Then, said a sentence. That silenced the entire conference room. You could try raising the pressure. There are foreign papers that have done comparative experiments with the same material. If the gas quenching pressure is raised to a certain level, the match between hardness and toughness can reach a much better standard D. I checked your equipment parameters. Theoretically, it can reach that pressure range. It's just that maybe you haven't tried it before. It was quiet for about 2 seconds. Fu Zhengxiang hadn't interrupted from start to finish, just leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled on the table, his gaze moving back and forth between me and Old Wu, listening a lot, saying little. For the next 2 hours, we went through the plan from start to finish. The deeper we went, the more clearly I felt a problem. Old Wu and Engineer Li's technical knowledge basically stopped at the level of conventional processes. They understood production, understood equipment, understood how to make the product. But as to why it was done this way, or if there was a better way, they didn't think about it much. They had been moving forward along the old processes. Rarely did anyone stop and ask, is this old road still the right one? This wasn't a personal problem of theirs. It was the current state of the entire industry. Most engineers in small companies like this had worked their way up from the front lines. Rich in experience, but weak in theoretical foundation. They knew how to do it, but didn't know why it was done that way. When facing a problem, their first reaction was, we've always done it this way, instead of a better way. When saying this, I tried my best to be mindful of my wording. I didn't want to embarrass them. I truly felt it was a pity. Zhangxiong Equipment's foundation wasn't bad. The equipment was new. The factory was new. The workers' operational level was also passable. But in terms of technology, it was like a very tall building, built on a 10-year-old foundation. Old Wu listened to me finish, stayed silent for a few seconds, then nodded, said a sentence that surprised me a bit. What you're saying? I actually have that feeling too. But these past few years, the factory has had a lot of orders, rushing goods every day. Where is the time to ponder over these things? He spoke honestly. So honestly it made me feel a bit embarrassed. Engineer Li beside him hadn't said much, but his eyes were softer than when we first met. He was someone who actually did the work. Faced with documents and data, their persuasiveness was more effective than any words. When the meeting broke up, it was already noon. Fu Zhangxiong asked me to stay and eat at the factory. Employee cafeteria. Stainless steel trays. 3 dishes and a soup. He carried his tray and sat across from me. Ate, very slowly, like he was thinking about something. Old Jiang, he suddenly spoke. Do you think, if we change, according to your plan, how long until we see results? I still had rice in my mouth, quickly swallowed it, thought about it and said, if the process verification goes smoothly, mass production within 2 months. Fu Zhangxiong grunted in acknowledgement, picked up a piece of braised pork with his chopsticks, didn't eat a tea, and put it back down. Those things you talked about today. He looked at me. Heat treatment, gas quenching, foreign papers. Where did you learn all that? Does your school teach this? No. I said, information I looked up myself. Asked some classmates working in the field. Also got people to help find some foreign literature and data. Did you do this for that girl Jichu? I put down my chopsticks and looked into his eyes. Those eyes were very similar to Fu Jiqiu's. Right now, staring straight at me, like a quality inspector inspecting a product, not missing a single flaw. GQ told me, you wanted her to be an accountant at your company, but she wants to write novels full-time. You think writing novels offers no security. I said, I wanted to let you know, I'm someone she can rely on. Across from me, Fu Zhangxiong didn't speak, just picked up that piece of braised pork and put it in his mouth. I knew this step of mine had succeeded. I had demonstrated my value in front of Fu Zhangxiong. For the next 2 years, I was busy like a wound-up clock, not resting for a moment. Promotions came faster than I imagined. A year and a half after joining, Mr. Chen from R&D was transferred to a new company. Before leaving, he called me in for a chat. We talked for less than 20 minutes. At the end he said, I've recommended you to the higher-ups. Whether it happens is up to you. I thought at the time he was just being polite. I didn't expect the appointment notice to come down a month later. Publishing manager, leading a team of 12. That year, I was 26, the youngest manager in the entire R&D department, and one of the youngest mid-level managers in the company. Besides so-and-so company, the work over at Uncle Fu's was also increasing, starting from my initial testing pin plan. Their company's R&D work slowly became something I led. At first it was just as a technical consultant, going to the factory once every 2 weeks, going over plans with old Wu and engineer Lai, looking at data. Later it became going once a week, and then it became unscheduled. Sometimes a call would come saying it was urgent, and I'd rush over after work. Fu Zhangxiong set me up with a formal consulting contract, paid by the project. The amount wasn't small. Our date spots unconsciously changed. Before, we'd meet at the mall cinema. Now, more often than not, we were together at the factory. I'd be in the conference room reviewing blueprints, pointing at reports, discussing heat treatment curves with old Wu. She'd sit on the sofa in the corner, typing on her laptop, quietly writing her novel. She would bring snacks, washed strawberries, sliced oranges, peeled pomelo packed in clear Tupperware, neat and tidy. She didn't interrupt my work. Just every now and then she'd walk over, pop a strawberry in my mouth, or place an orange slice right by my hand. I'd chew the strawberry and keep looking at the report. She'd watch me finish it. Then, satisfied, go back to the sofa and keep typing. Slowly, everyone in her dad's company knew the chairman's future son-in-law was a highly educated expert. Jiang Haibo, Fu Jiqiu called my full name. I knew she was mad. I'm very angry right now. When I'm angry, I have to speak my mind. When are you free? I want to go on a trip. I want you to come with me. Jikyu, give me a second. Let me check my work schedule. See if I can squeeze some time out. Wait, how long? Her voice carried a sob. I looked into her disappointed eyes. I suddenly realized I had constantly been making Fu Jikyu wait for me. Wait for my confession. Wait for me to prove my worth. Wait for me to get a foothold in the big city. We're not waiting. We leave next week. Let's go to Yunnan. Okay. You said before you wanted to go to Erhai. We'll go together. And while we're there, I'll take you home to meet my parents. Oh, I wasn't trying to pressure you. You didn't pressure me. It's what I've always wanted. I stepped forward and hugged her, gently patting her back. These past 2 years I've barely had a proper rest. Didn't go home for New Year's, saved up 10 days of 2L. Uncle Fu's company could run fine without me, working so desperately in the first place. Was all to be able to give Fu Jikyu happiness. Now, on the contrary, she wasn't happy. It was time for me to stop and recharge. We stayed by Erhai Lake for 3 days. Rented a little electric scooter. Rode slowly along the lakeside road. She sat on the back, arms wrapped around my waist, face pressed against my back. The wind was strong, blowing her hair everywhere. A few strands wrapped around my neck, tickling. Dusk at Erhai is the most beautiful time of day. The sun hasn't fully set yet. The clouds in the west are burned tangerine, pink-purple, dull gold, spreading out, layer by layer, like someone knocked over a paint palette. The water surface is rippled by the wind, the light shattering into millions of pieces, dancing on the crests of the waves. The Kangshan Mountains in the distance have already grown dark. The ridgeline appears like a silhouette, slicing the sky and water cleanly. Fu Jikyu sat on the stone steps by the shore, wearing a white maxi dress, her hair loose, blowing everywhere in the wind. Jikyu, I called her. She looked up and saw the bouquet in my hands. Stunned for a moment, you went and bought flowers. She stood up and brushed the dust off her dress. I thought you went to handle work again. No, I said, not handling work today. I stepped forward and stood in front of her. The ground was uneven. She was standing 1 step higher than me. I looked her in the eye. The setting sun fell on her face, turning her skin a very warm color. You're acting weird today. Why do you keep looking at me? I didn't answer. I handed the bouquet over. She looked down to take it. The moment her fingers brushed the stems, her movement stopped, because she saw the diamond ring hidden among the flowers. A ring I had bought back in Shanghai. Jikyu. I heard my own voice, half a pitch lower than usual. A bit shaky, but every word was clear. I don't want to make you wait anymore. The first time I saw you in the rain, I dreamed of marrying you. All my hard work has been to be worthy of you. Jikyu, will you marry me? The wind blew over from Erhai, carrying the scent of waterweed and earth. In the distance, a few seagulls flapped their wings and took flight, traced a few arcs in the twilight, and landed back on the water. The clouds in the sky were still slowly burning. The tangerine light dyed her white dress a faint color. Standing there, tears kept falling, but her eyes were brighter than any star I'd ever seen. She reached out her hand. Her hand was shaking. I picked up the silver ring, steadying my own, equally shaking hand, and slowly, solemnly slipped it onto her ring finger. Not too big, not too small. A perfect fit. Coming back from Yunnan, we went straight to my hometown. The train passed through vast fields in the dark of night. The lights outside the window grew fewer and fewer. Between villages lay vast expanses of darkness. Fu Jikyu fell asleep leaning on my shoulder. Her breathing was light, eyelashes trembling slightly. I wonder what she was dreaming about. When we arrived at the station, it wasn't fully light yet. We dragged our suitcases out of the exit, and I spotted my mom right away. She was wearing a dark red cotton coat. Her hair was whiter than when I'd last seen her on video. She stood in the crowd on her tiptoes, peering toward the exit. My dad was right beside her. He wore an old, faded jacket. His hands were tucked in his sleeves. He looked calm, but his eyes were constantly scanning the crowd. "Mom!" I called out. I waved at them. My mom's eyes shifted and found me. Then they quickly moved to the person half a step behind me. Fu Jikyu. Her eyes instantly lit up. It was a look I'd rarely seen on her face. She hurried over. Her walk turned into a little run. Fu Jikyu let go of my hand. She stepped forward to meet her. Hello, Auntie. Hello, hello. My mom's voice was a bit shaky. She looked Fu Jikyu up and down. Her eyes were full of pure affection. Was the trip tiring? Is it cold? Not at all. Fu Jikyu said with a smile. My dad walked over and looked at me. Then he looked at Fu Jikyu. His lips quirked. Finally, he just said, "Let's go." The car is waiting outside, on the way from the station to our house. My mom didn't let go of Fu Jikyu's hand once. She told Fu Jikyu about everything at home. The crops in the field, which village boy had gotten married, who had their second child. She spoke carefully, every word sounding like a gentle test. It was as if she was telling this city girl, "This is our life. Are you sure about this?" Fu Jikyu listened intently. She'd nod, or offer a soft ahem, asking, "And then what happened?" Her natural warmth helped my mom relax. When we got to the front door, my oldest sister's family was already there. My brother-in-law stood there with a big grin. My sister was holding the youngest, while keeping a hand on the oldest. When she saw Fu Jikyu, her eyes lit up. "You must be exhausted." Fu Jikyu walked over and softly said. My sister gave her a warm reply. That night, my mom prepared a massive feast. The chicken was fresh. She'd even sent someone to town just to get fish and tofu. She made everything herself. Usually she was incredibly frugal, washing and drying plastic bags to reuse them. But today, she acted like she was spending her life savings just to welcome food. The red envelope was also a very generous amount. Fu Jikyu slept in my old room. I was on the sofa outside. In the middle of the night, I got up for water and passed her room. The door wasn't fully closed. A sliver of light escaped. I pushed it open just a bit. She was sitting on the bed, staring intensely at a photo of me as a kid. In the photo, I was maybe 7 or 8, wearing my second sister's old clothes, standing in the village square. I was grinning, showing off 2 missing front teeth. "What are you looking at?" I whispered from the doorway. I startled her. When she saw it was me, she sighed in relief. She waved the photo at me. "You were so cute. And now?" She looked me over, smiling. "Still cute." She laughed and put the photo down, reaching out a hand. "Come sit for a bit." I went in and sat on the edge of the bed. She leaned in and rested her head on my shoulder. We were quiet for a while. "Jiang Haibo, your mom told me so much today." "About what?" "About you, as a kid. She said you were so good. Never getting into fights. Always doing your homework on your own. She said you could cook by age 8 or 9, making dinner while your parents were in the fields. She said you always saved the best food for your sisters, and that you almost didn't get to go to school." Her voice trailed off. She stopped at that last sentence. I didn't say anything. I'd been worried my parents would say something to make Fu Jikyu uncomfortable. Before bringing her here, I'd called them repeatedly to set expectations. I told them about her family, her personality, how she grew up. I knew there was a cultural gap. For the first time, I was firm with them. No talk about favoring boys. No pressuring her to get married or have kids. She was the moon I worked my whole life to reach. I wouldn't let anyone drag her down. Maybe my mom was a little annoyed, but I was certain she wouldn't pull me down with her. And I knew Jikyu was so easy to love that once they met, they'd get along just fine. Mainly because they both loved me. The room was silent, save for the distant barking of a dog. My mom was asleep in the next room, and my dad's snoring drifted through the wall. It was very faint. "You have me now." Fu Jikyu's voice was muffled. Her face pressed into my shoulder. "You don't have to carry it all alone." I didn't say anything, just pulled her closer. The moon was full outside, pouring light through the curtainless window, and coating the floor in silver. I leaned down and kissed the top of her head. We stayed for 2 days, and I fixed everything in the house that needed fixing. I also visited my oldest sister. She was doing well. Her husband was hardworking and devoted. They'd started a chicken farm last year, and were doing pretty good. I secretly tucked $50 into the backpack I'd bought for their kid. She called me as soon as we left. "Haibo, what is this? Why did you give me money?" "Sis, consider it a payment for you and your husband to take care of mom and dad. It's hard for me to get home, so I'm counting on you guys. But taking care of them is our duty. The money is too much. Sis, if it weren't for your bride price, I wouldn't have even finished high school. You have to take it." Your in-laws are kind. But if you visit your parents too often, people might talk. This helps. Oh, you. My sister sounded like she was crying. Back in Shanghai, we immediately headed to Suzhou to see Jiqiu's family. I was already close with Uncle Fu, but this felt different. I was still nervous. Hello, Uncle, Auntie. Lil Jiang, come in. That must have been a long trip. Jiqiu's mom welcomed us with a gentle smile. She and Jiqiu sounded exactly alike. Uncle Fu got straight to the point, as direct as if we were in a boardroom. Jiqiu told us everything. Do your parents have any concerns? They love her, I said. They just want us to be happy. Uncle Fu nodded, leaning back. His gaze was steady. Little Jiang, I'm a straight shooter. Our families are different, but you're capable and you treat her well. I see that. He took a sip of tea. We'll follow local customs. Two families become one. We don't need a bride price. But we want 2 kids. Gender doesn't matter. But the first one will take Jiqiu's last name. Thoughts? I'd expected this. It's common in Suzhou. I'm completely fine with that. But we need to make sure Jiqiu is on board with having 2 kids. She is. Uncle Fu looked at her. We don't even want a bride price from you. But there is one condition. We want you to have 2 kids. We don't care about the gender. But the first one has to take Jiqiu's last name. What do you think about that? I already figured it would go this way before I even showed up. There are so many only child families here in Suzhou. Merging 2 families into one is pretty standardy. I'm totally fine with it. I have no problem with that. I said, but about having 2 kids? We definitely need Jiqiu's consent first. She already agreed. Uncle Fu glanced at his daughter, a tiny smirk playing on his lips. That's just how it works for only children around here. She knows. If you have any requests, you can speak up now. I don't really have any big requests. I looked over at Fu Jiqiu. She was looking down, the tips of her ears turning red. It was the greatest honor of my life just to marry her. So, where are you guys planning to live? Sounding like a typical worried mom. We'd love for you to move in with us. Jiqiu. She can't even do laundry or cook. How can I trust you 2 living on your own? Mom, what are you talking about? Fu Jiqiu got all defensive. Cooking and laundry are easy. I can learn anything. Before she could finish, Auntie Fu playfully poked her in the head. Jiqiu let out a little "oh," holding her forehead and leaning toward me. I pulled her close to my side and spoke up calmly. I've saved up enough for a down payment in Shanghai. I want to buy a place between my office and Uncle Fu's factory. That way, the commute will be easy for both of us. And we're close enough to visit you guys in Suzhou on weekends. As I was saying this, Jiang Wu's hand moved in my palm, her fingers gently hooking into mine. The living room went silent for a second. Auntie Fu was still in the middle of poking her daughter. She heard me, dropped her hand, glanced at me, and then looked over at Fu Jiangxiang. Uncle Fu was sitting upright, with his back straight. He held a cup of tea, but didn't drink it. A place in Shanghai. Uncle Fu finally asked, a down payment isn't cheapo. You've only been working for over 2 years. I have enough. I've been saving up for the last couple of years. Between my bonuses and consulting fees, a down payment is no problem. I can handle the mortgage on my own too. I won't let Jiqiu feel any pressure. Uncle Fu set his teacup down and leaned back into the sofa. His posture relaxed a bit more. He looked at Fu Jiqiu and then back at me. His mouth twitched. Maybe he was trying not to smile. So you 2 already talked this through? He asked. Fu Jiqiu beat me to the punch. She had that spoiled daughter tone she only ever used with her dad. He's the boss. Auntie Fu laughed and gave Jiqiu's arm a gentle pat. You're not even married yet, and he's already the boss? I just smiled and held on to Jiqiu's hand. All right, then look into the house thing. Uncle Fu stood up and went to the window, looking out at the loquat tree in the yard. If you're short on the down payment, let us know. Dad, Fu Jiqiu called out. You're my only daughter. I just want you to be happy. That's all that matters to us. I stood up and looked at his back. Thank you, Uncle. But I can handle the down payment myself. Uncle Fu turned back and looked at me for a while, before finally giving a nod. After dinner, GQ took me for a walk in the yard. Were you nervous? She asked. You acted pretty cool back there. Like, I'll handle the down payment myself. I won't let GQ feel any pressure. I was totally faking it. She was stunned for a second before bursting into laughter. You're a great actor. Thanks for the compliment. She reached out and felt my chin. I had some fresh stubble that was a bit scratchy. She pulled her hand away, then touched it again, as if to confirm something. You don't have to fake it anymore. Not with me. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. Okay, the wedding was a whirlwind. Everything went smoothly. We had the first ceremony in Suzhou, and a second one back in my hometown. The Suzhou wedding was huge. Jikyu's relatives, her dad's business partners, everyone she'd ever known was there. We had over 50 tables. Auntie Fu picked an old-school 5-star hotel. The ballroom was massive, the chandeliers blindingly bright. I was wearing a tailored dark gray suit, greeting guests at the door. My face was starting to ache from all the smiling, but I felt grounded. My parents were there too. It was their first time at GQ's house as family. My mom had been stressing for days. She kept calling to ask me if her dark red kipao was okay, if she needed to fix her hair, or what to say. I told her to just be herself. She still wasn't sure. So, she made my dad practice toasting in the mirror. But once they got to Suzhou, they actually relaxed. Mom looked elegant in her red kipao, her hair pinned up with a pearl clip, standing by my dad. She stood tall and proud. When she talked to Auntie Fu, she was poised, and her smile was perfect. Your skin is amazing, Auntie Fu said. Mom laughed and said, it's just from years in the fields. She had the whole table laughing. Dad didn't say much, but when he did, he meant it. Uncle Fu gave him a toast. Dad stood up and said, Haibo is where he is today, thanks to your kindness and tolerance. We don't come from much, but you can trust my son. If he ever treats GQ wrong, I'll be the first one to deal with him. He downed his glass in one shot. GQ's family all cheered. I watched them and felt a lump in my throat. My mom hasn't traveled much in her life. She barely even knows how to navigate a train station. But there she was, at this fancy hotel, talking to people she'd probably never see again. She wasn't intimidated at all. She knew she had to make her son proud today. A week later, we headed back to my hometown for round 2. Uncle Fu and Auntie Fu came with us. The vibe there was completely different. No fancy lights or champagne towers. It was a 3-day outdoor banquet at the village community center. The venue had red brick walls and concrete floors decorated with streamers. All the local aunties helped decorate. The chef was from the next village over. He used to work at a restaurant in town and was famous for his feast. We had 30 tables spilling out from the hall onto the concrete yard. All our relatives and neighbors were there. The ground was covered in red paper from all the firecrackers. You could smell the firecrackers and the food in the air. A pop song was blasting from the speakers, so loud you could hear it in the next valley. GQ stepped out of the wedding car in a traditional red bridal gown. The whole village crowded around. Is that Haibo's wife? Relatives from the village, neighbors, and my parents' old friends crowded the place like a stadium. The ground was covered in red firecracker scraps, and the air smelled like gunpowder, mixed with the aroma of home-cooked food. Marry Me Today blared from the speakers, so loud you could hear it on the next hill. When Fu Jiqiu stepped out of the wedding car, in her traditional red shuhei gown, the whole village gathered around. So this is Haibo's wife. City girls really hit different. She's so fair and elegant. My mom stood at the very front of the crowd, beaming from ear to ear. Her eyes were clearly watering, but she forced herself not to cry. She reached out to take Fu Jiqiu's hand and led her inside, whispering, "Don't be scared, honey. You're one of us now." Fu Jiqiu glanced back at me, looking both nervous and curious. The village elders took turns for toasts. My dad drank a lot that day. His face was flushed crimson, but he downed every single glass. He took my hand and told the crowded courtyard. Haibo was the first kid from our village to make it to a top-tier unan, and now he's married such an amazing wife. I've got no regrets in this life. Applause and cheers filled the air. That night, we stayed in the new house. My parents renovated with their life savings. Fujikyu kicked off her heels, sat cross-legged on the bed, straightened out her red dress, and patted the spot next to her. I sat down, and she leaned against my shoulder. She sighed with relief. I'm so happy today. Me too. When your mom took my hand, it was so warm, but she was shaking a little. Was she nervous too? She was nervous all day, up since 4 a.m. But you should tell her not to be. Fujikyu buried her face in my shoulder and mumbled, I'm her daughter-in-law for real now. I'm not going anywhere. The moon was full outside, shining over the village like a spotlight. Dogs barked back and forth across the hill, like they were having a chat. People were still up at the hall. I could hear faint sounds of drinking games and bursts of laughter. I leaned down and kissed her. Once the village feast was over, the wedding was finally settled. From Suzhou to the village, from five-star hotels to the community center, from tailored suits to traditional red gowns. Two worlds, two totally different vibes. But the person by my side was her, and she's the best. Epilogue. We were so happy after the wedding. Grocery shopping and cooking together, cleaning the house as a team. We stayed at our place during the week and went back to Suzhou on weekends. Soon, Jichu got pregnant. That little life took us both by surprise. My mom rushed over from the village. I was straight with her about the Suzhou tradition. She knew the first kid would take Jichu's last name. I thought she'd be upset, but she was actually pretty chill about it. So what if they don't have my name? All I care about is that my daughter-in-law is carrying my grandkid. Mom wanted to stay until the baby was born, but Auntie Fu sent over professional nannies. Mom felt a bit redundant and went home after a few days. Jichu and I checked off all the parents' boxes. 2 kids in 3 years, and we're calling it at that. My career kept taking off, and the income kept growing. We bought a bigger place in Shanghai. My parents visit to see the kids, but they never really vibed with city life. They spend most of their time back home. Every school break, Jichu takes the kids back to the village to play in the mountains and catch fish in the river. People ask me, now that I have money, status, and women constantly hitting on me, have I ever thought about straying? The answer is no. Everyone appreciates a pretty face, and when I see one, I might look twice. But my life right now is too perfect. I worked way too hard for this. I won't let anyone ruin it. I couldn't live with the consequences if things went south.